Hello everyone, I'm Broughy1322 and this video will showcase the fastest cars in the GTA 5 Compacts class, organised first of all by race tier and then by lap time within each tier, with the top speed of each vehicle also shown in order to identify any outliers. All 17 compacts have been put through their paces on my testing track and top speed run, and we'll be going from the slowest G tier cars to the top S tier in this video. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on future testing of new vehicles added to GTA 5 and beyond, and check out all of the classes in the playlist. This video is brought to you by the resources area of my website. Check out info regarding my Discord server, offer setup, pets, sponsors, a monthly blog and more at broughy.com/resources. As we see the vehicles in the Compacts class that aren't usable in regular races, it's important for me to let you know that the intro video to this series, which is linked in the description and pinned comment, likely answers any questions you have about this testing. From simple things like what car upgrades are needed to maximise performance and what HSW stands for, to more complicated things like why I use off-road wheels and overall testing methodologies. Give that video a watch if there's anything you don't understand here, since everything there is assumed knowledge for this video. So obviously just the two non-raceable vehicles there with the ISI Arena version and the Patrol Dilettante, which is basically the same as the regular Dilettante, just without upgrades, and there aren't that many upgrades that you get for the Dilettante. You don't get spoiler or turbo or transmission because it's an electric vehicle, so the regular Dilettante isn't that much quicker than the stock version, as you can see here in tier G. The Brioso is also in the G tier with the Dilettante because it does gain a lot from curbs and other boosts in comparison to this one, so on more bumpy circuits the two vehicles will be able to compete, but ultimately it is the Brioso 300 that's the slowest. With 17 cars in total, but 2 of them not being raceable and 1 being an HSW variant, Compacts remains the smallest mainline raceable class in the game, although there's a significantly higher number of cars in the class now in comparison to the 4 that were present in 2013 upon release. That was the Dilettante, the ISI, the Blister and the Prairie, so only 4 cars for a class. Those were the days. But yeah, in terms of tier E here, the Asbo is kind of a spice pick. It's one of the first cars that was added to the game that needs the lowest suspension, so it is a lot slower without that. And after the Asbo, the E tier gives the classic pattern of lap times improving as top speed gets worse. So an interesting balance, and the E tier is the biggest that we have in this class with 4 vehicles, which is exactly the same as the entire class was in 2013. And obviously just before this for the F tier we had the ISI Classic all on its own because it can't really compete with these and it's significantly quicker than the G tier cars. So yeah, we've got the Prairie, the classic Prairie and the regular ISI that we just saw, and the Brioso 300 wide body tops the E tier in terms of lap time, but it has a really bad top speed, so you're going to have to keep that in mind in an E tier race. The Prairie and the ISI are probably the best all-rounders. Starting us off in tier D is another classic from 2013 and actually the quickest of the 2013 era of compacts with the Blister. Now a 1 minute 15.9 is a good half a second quicker than what we saw from the E tier vehicles, which is why it's up into the D tier, but these aren't very quick lap times. You know, the compact class are not very quick cars. Obviously we've got the Weevil up next and we're sort of 2 car tiers for the next 2. It's a little bit quicker in terms of lap time, the Weevil, but a little bit slower in terms of top speed, so it will be an interesting balance between the 2. And then we move on to the C tier, which again we're going a little bit quicker but not particularly quick, with the Panto and the Rhapsody. Now these 2 have never been able to be separated, both being added to the game on the same day around 10 years ago with the I'm Not a Hipster update, and they shot straight to the top of the class where either of them could be used in most races. And they couldn't possibly get any closer with the retesting, given they're separated by 1,000th of a second for lap time. While the Rhapsody has the better top speed, the nimbleness of the Panto will make each of them have their own strengths depending on the track, and you can use whichever one you prefer for C tier races. The Blister Kanjo is all on its own in the B tier, and just like with the Nebula Turbo in Sport Classics, is afflicted with some of the awful wheel toe values that some of the muscle cars have. So this is a horrific driving experience where every bump in the road sends you a different direction. It can be helped somewhat by having the lower suspension, but I would just avoid it if I was you. Now the A tier, we've got another car all on its own with the Brioso RA. When this was introduced, this shot straight to the top of the class and dethroned the Panto and the Rhapsody. and we're into the 1:10 10s now for lap time, so a fair bit quicker than the Blister Kanjo, and this was at the top of the class for a long time. But we're still, again, not that quick. 103 mile per hour for its top speed isn't great, and we're going to take a massive leap for the S tier cars, starting with the Club that goes a full 3.5 to 4 seconds per lap quicker with a 106.6. Now, these are sort of more reasonable lap times. That lap time would put it sort of mid-pack in the sports class, really, and that 112.5 mile per hour top speed that it gets means it's good enough for second place in the class on both metrics. Second for life for the Club, but it is a really nice driving experience, and certainly a lot better than our number 1 car, which is another HSW car as we see the Brioso RA return. It's got a huge top speed, as to be expected from HSW cars these days, 20 miles per hour quicker than the Club, and even faster than the boosting Arena Issy that we saw in the non-raceable section. It almost drives like a rocket car, the Brioso RA HSW, where it's okay to sort of sacrifice a little bit in the corners to be able to get on the power earlier and without interruption. It is a handful though. Now, during the testing for the Club, every lap that I did was a 106 or a 107, but with the Brioso, some were 105s and 106s, some were 107s and 108s, 115s after a crash and a respawn. The Club is easily the more consistent and the choice if there's a track where there's no ability for the Brioso to use its big straight line speed advantage, and in the comparison and the side by side here, you can see that the Club actually pulls out a gap for most of the lap. On the corner heavy segments it's got much better grip, but when we get to that big final straight, the sheer crazy top speed of the Brioso in comparison to everything else in the class, 20 mile per hour difference, even though the Brioso isn't that quick for an HSW car in terms of top speed, when in the context of the compact class, going 20 miles per hour quicker for top speed, as you'll see on this back straight, makes a big difference. So it's a toss up, and keep in mind also that if you can, it's only going to be quick, the Brioso, if you can handle it. It will be the pick for most racers, but it will equally try to kill you and crash as much as it will fly away from people on the straights. So it's a balancing act, and you can choose whichever one you want, obviously. But obviously on old gen platforms and PC, the Brioso RA HSW doesn't exist, so the S tier is just the Club. So either of them are usable depending on what you prefer. And that's everything for this video. Please consider supporting on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you want to support this work and get some extra perks for doing so, such as early access to videos and other testing results. And also remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, and subscribe for more. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.